Real Kurt Angle, it was an honor to be inducted into the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame today in Albany, New York. Thank you to all who attended the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Shout out Kurt Angle, one of the GOATs. Speaking of GOATs, here's a young GOAT, the playoff drip, the Houston Texans. Zilla Fatu reps new playoff merch ahead of Texans versus Chargers. And he's like affiliated with them. They did a whole thing, you know, and he's not even signed to AEW or WWE. Obviously, he's going to WWE, though, let's be honest. And good for him. Like, this is the real deal Holyfield here, right? With Zilla, he's not even signed anywhere major. But my belief is he's going right to WWE. Where else would he go? But an indie wrestler, man, and holding it down, too. He improved. I'm telling you guys, this kid improved so much the last like 2 years, even 1 year. If you watch his indie, again, we were just watching OVW. Watch him, his minor appearances there. Pretty green. Watch what he's doing now. It's incredible in the shape he's gotten in. And then a deal like this for an indie guy. Wrestling's so hot right now, man.
Man, Zilla Fatu, y'all already know what it is. The main one from Ace Time. Hey, January 11th, man. Y'all stay tuned, man. Y'all pull up. It's about to go crazy.
So this guy, Garrett Kidney, tweeted this out, and he was outraged by something Stevie Richards said. Steven Richards. He does a podcast with WSI, James. Well, a couple shows, I think, a couple different ones, or maybe it's just the one. Or no, he does the one where he breaks down the botches, too. And, of course, BWO, he's a legend, in my opinion, as far as just, like, I'm a mark in pro wrestling in general. He wrestled for WCW, ECW, WWE, TNA, right? So he's been all over. And how did his old music used to go? I'll show you. You'll see. Do you guys remember that era? Or, like, Right to Censor? You know, yeah, the BWO stuff. Anyways, though, you guys all know who Steven Richards is. I know. He said this about Mike Awesome. He goes, this is on Mike Awesome not having great ring psychology. For everything Mike Awesome could do athletically and physically, he had zero psychology. His psychology sucked. This is not your main course. This is like eating your ice cream first before the main course. It makes no sense. That's what makes me feel bad because they made their mark here. But what memorable moment did Mike Awesome and Tanaka ever create? So, you know, I mean, memorable moment, their one-night stand match, but really think about it. Their matches, like Tanaka and Awesome, like the one-night stand one is an AEW wet dream type match, right? They just did they had one opportunity on a WWE level pay-per-view to do what they did in ECW at the one-night stand. Awesome and Tanaka just left it out there, kicked out of every crazy move. It was ridiculous. The kickouts are ridiculous, but it is one of the greatest matches ever because in the context, people forget. Okay, think about the movie The Exorcist. Kids might watch that now, and that's not scary at all because they're playing horror video games. They're seeing movies with CGI where there's demon nuns floating across. You know what I mean? There's zombie. You watch Resident Evil, it looks like real zombies or whatever. You guys get what I'm getting at. Like, horror movies have advanced so much, but at the time, that movie was so terrifying, The Exorcist. Even now, it's still scary, but maybe a better analogy is like Alien. Alien was terrifying when it first came out, you know, even before my time, in context to when it came out. But then you fast forward now, and the xenomorphs aren't that scary because we've seen them for decades and decades and decades. But before people saw that everywhere, just on posters and T-shirts and video games and stuff, you know, the xenomorph is like, holy, it was this terrifying beast, you know? In context to that one-night stand match, that Mike Awesome Tanaka, that's a moment. That was some crazy that will always stand out in my mind. Their ECW matches, though, I was watching clips of one earlier because I'm like, I don't know. Let me go back and see. And I don't know. It looked like they were using psychology and they were having great matches. I'm a Mike Awesome fan. Always have been. I don't know if people are triggered by this. That it's his opinion, right? What moments did they create, though? I mean, on a WrestleMania level, probably not many, you know, but Mike Awesome was like a polarizing figure in the pro wrestling world, no less. So, but I'm also a big mark for him. Chat will let me know, but it seems like mostly people agree with this Garrett Kidney guy, but he went off. He buries Steven Richards, and he goes, wrestling is filled with ex-wrestlers who never made a meaningful impact on anybody in their life, criticizing insanely sick wrestlers that people fondly remember. Now, I don't know. Do people remember Steven Richards more or Mike Awesome more? They're pretty close for me. I'd say Steven Richards was more in my face because I was like the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression era and on. I think I may be fond, like if I had to objectively, or I guess it's more of a subjective thing, right? Because it's who I fondly remember. And I'd maybe put my bet on Steven Richards, although I am a Mike Awesome mark. I always was. He was a dude that I never understood why he wasn't like a WWE champion, or at least in the conversation at one point. But I guess, he had problems or stuff behind the scenes. I don't know. Either way, I'm a, WCW them up, all that stuff. So I think that's why. I think Stevie had more. And plus, like, I grew up playing No Mercy, right? Steven Richards was in that, he replaced Big Show or whatever. So he was like a focal point, and the Right to Censor were a focal point of that game. So maybe me personally, maybe more fondly, but I think I'd, who would you pay money? You could either pay money to go see the Stevie Richards match or this Mike Awesome match. I'd pay to see the Mike Awesome match personally. And that's not a knock on Stevie Richards either way. We're not trying to lower anyone. I'm just giving my opinion on this guy's opinion, right? So anyways, he says, what's worse is they're just regurgitating something a hack vet nobody cared about told them first. So he's referring to a hack veteran. Like, let's say Steven Richards was trained by, let's Google it. So who trained Steven Richards how to wrestle? Jimmy Jannetty trained him. So Jimmy Jannetty. Okay. I'm not sure. All I'm saying is this, Chad. Okay. Let's not go knocking like the people who train them and stuff like that. It was a completely different world and time then. We're talking, there was no internet. Okay. So people who grew up TikTok dancing out of their mom's pussies when they were born. Sorry. But like for you people, I get it. Scrolling internet everywhere. But for someone like Steven Richards or whoever trained him, it was just territories. It was a whole different universe or world. So you can't like knock them for teaching them what they knew at the time or whatever. Although I don't know Jimmy Jannetty is, but that's our miscellaneous news. Let's get into TNA news, chat. Via Fightful Gossip, Masha Slamovich, Ash by Elegance, and John Schuyler have all re-signed with TNA. And it is great news because they're heading into a new era. Well, they're in the new era, but 2025, man. If they can draw a house of like 6K for a pay-per-view, holy, all my pants. And Ash by Elegance will help them do that. Masha will help them do that. And this guy, thinking my hired or fired, I think I hired him. Let's go. TNA World Champion Nick Nemeth has signed an extension with TNA. His deal would have expired at the start of 2025, but the two sides came to terms on an extension. So that's the Hardys now. They re-signed AJ Francis. They re-signed Nick Nemeth. So to me, they're going in the right direction. They're not overloading it with ex-WWE guys. They're just using WWE guys in key positions to help elevate other people and get more eyeballs. And hopefully they do something with this, man. And I want to see more NXT crossover for real. That can't be over, right? So I'm certain we're going to get Joe Hendry in the Royal Rumble, and we're going to get Jordan Grace in the Rumble, but that's not TNA crossover, although it'll come across that way. She's legit just with WWE, right? So they let her out of it early, I believe, to go to WWE and make the Rumble on time. So at least that's the rumor floating around. So Nick Nemeth, shout him out. He said it. He wants to usher in, like he wants to help get TNA back on its feet, if it ever were on its feet. I think it was when a guy like Kurt Angle went over there, and that's what this is. Nick Nemeth is doing this Kurt Angle thing, sort of, a guy that you'd think would be a WWE lifer. And no, he's like, no, I'm going to go here and actually wrestle a bunch and help elevate this other company. So, and he's got good opponents. I love it. Shout out TNA. And here's CM Punk shouting out Chris Bay after his match with Seth Rollins there on Netflix. I think maybe it was off the air. Either way, though, huge, a babillion eyeballs.
This match is for Chris Bay. And this match is for Chris Bay. And this match is for Chris Bay.
There you go. This match is for Chris Bay, and we pray for Bay. Hope he gets better. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was light news, and we'll check in with Super Chats, guys. Sorry about that.